Good morning and welcome to Morning Java, brought to you as always by our friends at the Get Go Cafe and Market. Seen handily over my shoulder here. Taylor, they're still open for business.
Yeah, they're still open. You can order on the Giant Eagle app ahead of time, so you can you don't have to touch anything. You don't have to talk to anyone. They just put it on a little shelf for you. You're in and out. And
yeah, I hadn't even thought. I was there the other day and hadn't thought of that. I could have just sat in the car and done that and not worried about the touch screen and everything else that was in there.
You walk in and it's already ready for you.
We're all living and learning through all of this here. The one thing we haven't learned, because we can't, is when hockey will be back. That said, it's funny how every time Gary Bettman and or Bill Daly open their mouth, like even a little bit, like it's just to say hello, we're all pouncing on every syllable, but at the same time, they don't know either, do they?
Yeah, nobody said anything all that notable other than both of Daly and Bettman have said they're prioritizing a full 82 game season next year, or next season. That's really all we know. But Bettman talked Tuesday and said they don't know anything as far as a timeline, or he even said with the call with all the commissioners and Trump, he says that really didn't clarify anything. It was just getting information.
Now, but one thing I wonder about, because we've seen all these the moves or plans that Major League Baseball has, where it feels like, for whatever reason, maybe it's the nature of the sport that's not as contacty as the other sports, that baseball feels somewhat empowered to try to go first. But I can't help but wonder, if you're the NHL or the NBA, there's no way you're watching that and not thinking to yourself, hey, why don't we do that too? Why should we be left behind?
Yeah, I can't picture the MLB going through with what they've proposed, because what they're talking about is sequestering teams in Arizona for months. So the only contact they have is with their teammates. That's inhumane, bordering on.
Oh yeah.
But what they're talking about with baseball is having guys they don't sit in the dugout, they can sit in the stands. You can't do that for hockey. Because hockey, both you're talking about 20-ish guys, per team. You have the coaches, you have 2 trainers, 2 equipment guys for each side, and then you have the officials. You have the guys you have the officials in the penalty boxes. If a guy gets sent to the box, he has to sit in there with another person.
It's and the whole thing is, well, yeah, you're going to have a lot of differences, I think, in any of the sports, but I just think that whenever you see purely from the business standpoint, Major League Baseball comes back, let's just say that everything that they said just magically just happens, right? They get started at some point in May, and they're playing games, and they're making money, and they're on TV, and everybody's talking about baseball. I just can't picture the NHL and or the NBA just sitting around going, yeah, you know what, we're just going to hang on and wait a little bit longer,
Yeah, I think once we get sports back, we're gonna get everything back.
Right.
I think hockey would just have the hardest time getting everyone back, just because the logistics of it. Even the NBA, guys don't have to sit on a bench together.
Yeah, you could spread them out a little bit. Even then, though, let's be real here. The spreading out, the baseball thing that we're talking about, that's optics.
It is, yeah.
You're tagging people, you're running into them. Basketball, you're following a guy on his face, you're breathing on them. This is optics. You're being tested on the way in to the arena. If you and I are cleared as media to go into these events, we're going to be tested.
Yeah.
Okay. So theoretically, practically, everybody who enters that building, that venue, through that kind of security is going to be cleared already, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why are we worried about mound visits and umpires backing off and,
I don't know. I guess the test 100% accurate, and how long would they take? Just the logistics of it. And then I don't know, hockey, would you figure they need the longest time to get ready? Just because guys have not been skating. The NBA, they can at least
I would
work outside. But like
I would put pitchers in baseball ahead of anybody on that.
pitchers are a little different, but
and then from there next would be goaltenders in hockey.
Yeah, but even then, I mean, like the baseball's not resuming in the middle of the season, but yeah, hockey.
It's playoffs. Yeah,
we're talking about like probably 3 weeks minimum is what got like officials, coaches have said they want.
It's crazy right now, just crazy.
Yeah.
So Brian Rust was on a call with Pittsburgh reporters on Tuesday. We're grateful for that, by the way. Any team that makes anybody available to us as an industry, not that we speak for the media or whatever, but here at this company, we're grateful for it. They don't have to do that, and it helps. It helps us. It helps the readers stay in touch with their favorite teams. And you know what, Taylor? I'm betting to some extent it helps some of these players even with their sanity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's not like they're getting bothered in their homes for like tough hockey questions. No one asking them like, "What's wrong with the power play?" Because nothing's happening. It's really just got like, "What have you been doing to occupy your time?" Like,
although I did ask Russ, "What's wrong with the penalty kill?" In fairness, so.
If you can remember back that far.
Yeah, right.
But no, it's like what I've heard like 5 guys say they got Peloton bikes, like the at home like exercise bikes.
Mm-hmm.
It's really just that they're talking about, and keeping in touch. Like so it is like it's all really lighthearted stuff, and it is we're seeing them. I mean, like the video calls are not that serious. But Patrick Marleau just did one that his sons were in with him.
Right, piling all over him.
Yeah, his wife came in, and they're really just they're talking about fun stuff. Especially the ones you're seeing with like guys from opposing teams on the same call. But because like the NHL did one, they've done one for each, 2 for each division. 4 guys from the same division and
rivals.
Rivals. Yeah, what they had like Mark Stahl, Jordan Stahl, Crosby, and Giroux. And but I mean they're not. It's not like a rivalry setting because they're really not talking about hockey.
There's really. And I think that was actually kind of a neat idea on the NHL's part. There's a lot of things I haven't liked about the way they've conducted these calls, but at the same time, the fans seem to have enjoyed them, and that's what counts the most. I just, it's amazing to me how normal, in the span of it's been less than a month since Columbus, that this has all become. Like, doesn't Columbus to you just feel like forever ago?
Yeah, time runs together.
Yeah, right. You don't even know what day it is.
That feels, I don't know. I remember not that long ago, I wrote a story about how coronavirus might impact sticks for the rest of the season.
That was a really big deal,
remember that?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, like, I remember Jack Johnson was like, "Oh my God, I shipped off, copies of my sticks to Warrior because they're in Mexico to see if they could replicate it." And he's like, "We're preparing for the worst." And it's like, oh, we thought the worst was that they might run out of sticks for the end of the season.
That was actually in your headline, if I remember correctly. It was.
They're preparing for the worst.
It was Jared McCann was basically saying we're preparing for the worst. No, dude, the worst was still to come.
Yeah, God, no, I remember that was like right when it was first hitting, because I remember I talked to Cahoon about it, and everyone kind of knew what I was talking about except for Dominic Cahoon, and he's like, "The what?" And
oh my God, he didn't even know.
He didn't. Well, because it was brand new. It was really only just starting to impact China and
right.
shut down the factories. There was really only affecting like what they were exporting in China. And like I remember I was telling Cahoon, and he's like, "The what?" And I was like, "There's like a virus in China right now." It's like, oh my God.
They're definitely aware of it now.
That wasn't that long ago. It just happened so fast.
So when hockey comes back, and I'm going to keep referring to it as when rather than if, because you know what? It's going to come back someday. Yes. When hockey comes back, if it's the continuation in some form or other of the 2019-20 season, there's all kinds of stuff that gets floated around, some of it more reliable than others. But when Gary Bettman himself is asked about the North Dakota plan, that lends at least a little bit of credibility, because he didn't just shoot it down. What he said was it's one of several possibilities that's out there, one of several discussions that they're having here. What is it for those who are watching who aren't familiar with it? What is it that they're discussing?
Yeah, Sportsnet originally reported it. I think it was last week that they're talking about sort of what MLB is doing, like having neutral site games, like just moving a bunch of guys, a bunch of teams into
a spot.
Yeah, so it wouldn't just be like, so what they're talking about is if, regular season's over, we start the playoffs, maybe like a 16-team playoffs, you wouldn't be moving all 16 teams into like one North Dakota. It would be like, 4 teams in North Dakota, 4 teams in another, state, city like New Hampshire, just teams that have like areas that have good facilities. So like North Dakota has like University of North Dakota.
It has facilities, has enough hotel, has enough ice.
Yeah, like it doesn't have to be an NHL rink because like we're talking about no fans, but like a college, like maybe like a smaller college rink that doesn't have like it has good because it has to have good locker rooms and like.
Well, North Dakota's come up and New Hampshire has come up, and the thing that they obviously have in common is that they're both, and I say this respectfully, isolated, and 2, they're near the Canadian. They're on the Canadian border. They have Canadian borders. New Hampshire is right across from Montreal, and you can get tons of rinks. North Dakota, of course, is across from one of my favorite places in the world, where you could go right into Manitoba, and there's a zillion rinks there. And also, Winnipeg's is probably the most isolated big city on the planet. You'd have reasons to expect that they would be safe. The logistics are still something, though, Yeah,
well, because we're talking about games, but you also have to figure, practice time.
Yeah.
So that's where what you're talking about is like having a lot of small rinks around would be good.
Yeah, but the logistics too are now they're getting to and from those rinks and safely, and they're doing it from hotels where they are being, and this is the term that baseball is using, isolated.
Yeah.
Like when they're back at their hotels, they're not supposed to go hang out and whatever else, and they can't have their families there.
Yeah.
I know you keep doing that every time the family thing comes up, but.
Well, at least
what's another solution?
Well, no, at least in hockey, if we're starting right in the playoffs, you're really not talking about that long.
No.
Like what the teams, even if the 2 teams make it to the finals, they're not away for that long. So
it's a maximum of 2 months is what you're talking about here, and nobody wants to be away from their family for 2 months. But there's also worse places you can be in your life. And you can do this thing that me and you are doing right now with your family and everything else.
Yeah, I just can't imagine what the MLB is talking about. It's weird, like 4 months. Like,
oh yeah, it's limitless because not limitless, but the max on that one would be 4.5 months because.
Oh, and for regular season games, like if hockey teams are going away, they're at least playing for the cup, and we're only talking about half the league.
Yeah, and realistically, we're talking about 4.5 months or whatever. I don't want to sit here and play. How do you pronounce that word? Epidemiologist? Is that what it is? I don't even know I see it all the time in print now. I don't know how to say it. Whatever it is, I'm not that.
I don't know. There's so many questions that are like what happens with like the awards? Like there's the ones that you vote on, but then there's also like the Art Ross. Like guys are tied or like one away. Not everyone's playing the same number of games. Like what happens?
No, it came up with Rust. Russ certainly wouldn't have brought it up himself, but he's really close to 30 goals.
Yeah. He's
not going to get it. 30 goals is something that's a real point of pride in a player's career, especially doing it for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And we're in crazy land. But hey, I can't let this episode end without asking who on earth sells a Pittsburgh Power shirt? Where on earth did you get that?
I got it from Fanatics. I think like last year. It's a kid's jersey. It's only like $15.
Imagine the discount rate.
Yeah, well, but they were only around for 3 years, maybe.
Yeah, right up until they all got canned at an Olive Garden, as memory serves, in Orlando.
Like the 2012, I think, season opener, Olive Garden, for the pregame meal.
At the meal, like we don't even know if it was pre or post breadsticks. They have to bring the breadsticks first.
That's
that
like
he's like,
when
all
you
right,
wanna,
all of you, you're all cut.
it's like when you want to break up with someone and you like take them to like a public place so they don't make a scene, but the owner did that with his entire team. But what people forget is they won that game. That was a pregame meal for the opener.
Oh yeah, they blew out whoever it was. Like
Orlando, I
Arkansas
couldn't tell you
something
who
or,
Orlando's
yeah.
team was, but they won that game after the entire team got cut at an Olive Garden. The Scabs and a couple guys that came back.
And then they got left behind. That was the other part of it. Like they also didn't bring them back to Pittsburgh.
Well, yeah, because they had to figure out their own.
They had to figure out how to get back here where they had apartments. The best cut in sports history, easily.
Yeah.